And again, the last panel of the day, very exciting. The last panel that we just had were, if I'm correct, all undergraduate students. And now you will have to, with all your degrees, have to do better.
I don't think that's possible.
They kept it up pretty far. So it's wonderful to see all this interaction. And so Gregor Wolbring, he'll be speaking on Eco-Aleism, enabling and disabling the ecosystem. He's associate professor, University of Calgary, Faculty of Medicine, Community Health Science, Community Rehabilitation and Disability, and fellow at the Institute for Science, Policy, and Society. I had him speak in my class recently via Skype. He's amazing, and he's doing a lot of work around eco-ableism and the intersections of many different fields. Judy Bentley, who we heard yesterday, will be talking about a new paper that she is working on, deconstructing symbolic identities and building on eco-ability, expanding the domain of environmental justice, which, just a note, her chapter in the Eco-Ability book is the only chapter that focuses on, for a significant part, on environmental justice. And again, she's an associate professor at SUNY in the Foundations of Social Advocacy department, where she teaches graduate courses in research methods and inclusive special ed, and is the interim director of the Disability Studies Institute. And she's always looking for more people there. Joe Lesson Schatz, I was almost. He's the, as everyone knows, the main organizer of this amazing conference so far. The debate coach, I should read off of this. He's going to be talking about queering vegetarian politics beyond a politics of purity and normalcy. So I'm excited. And a lecturer in English and feminist evolutionary studies at Binghamton University, where he also serves as the director of the speech and debate team. And he has, educated many future debate coaches and debate directors at other institutions. So he has a long history here. And again, I'm honored to hear this. And everybody's about 20 minutes, and then we'll have question, comments. And I'll be checking the, feel free to people that are tuning in on iStream to leave comments on the right side, and then I will read them to the panelists. We'll have Gregor go first, so take it away.
Gregor goes first, okay. So you hear me?
Yes.
Can you hear me?
He can't hear us.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes, we can hear you. I just muted.
Okay. Yeah, I just want to make sure that right before I start talking, no one hears me. Okay, thank you very much for to alert me of this conference. I think it's an exciting new endeavor and very timely and deeply needed, and for allowing me to come in by Skype, which makes it so much easier. As my title highlights, I will talk about the eco-ableism as a conceptual framework, and indeed I covered that for quite some time, and it's great that I can actually bring this forward to a group who very likely is more familiar with that concept than in most places where I talk about it. I also want to make a plug for the discipline of ability expectation in ableism studies or ability studies. And in the way I use that since 2008, a little bit different than, it's not just an add-on to like this/ability studies. It's a little bit different in its frame, and will come at the end of my talk. As for my talk, I make two assumptions. A, the concept of ability expectation in ableism and eco-ableism can be used as a framework to analyze strategies and priorities put forward in many discourses, from water to energy, sustainable development, and to investigate various relationships such as human-animal and human-nature relationship. And of course, it can be also used right within the framework of disability studies and so on, but everyone knows that, so I will not cover much on the disability angle in this talk. And as a framework to envision governance solutions and to analyze the strengths and limits of existing governance approaches. I also assume that the cultural dynamic of ability expectation ableism is one aspect of multi-level problems that make it so difficult to have effective governance strategies and coherent laws. That's the intersection of human, animal, and the environment. Now for the speakers, for the audience on Ustream who might not be as familiar, I start first to just describe a little bit where ableism comes from. And in essence, the disability rights movement in the United States and Britain were the first to look at the cultural dynamic and the cultural impact of ability expectations, coining the term ableism as a cultural concept during the 1960s and 70s. The disability studies field and disabled people rights activists use the term ableism to question and highlight the expectation towards species-typical body abilities. Right? We expect certain abilities from different species. Humans are supposed to walk, but not to fly. Birds are supposed to fly. And the disablement, the prejudice and discrimination people experience whose body structure and ability functioning are seen as sub-species typical and therefore labeled as impaired. However, the cultural reality of ability expectations, which I normally say is a want stage, and ableism, which then is a need stage, which is something where in essence something becomes essential. You don't just want it, you really feel it's essential. Go far beyond how it's used within disability studies. Individuals, households, communities, groups, sectors, regions, and countries make daily numerous decisions based on ability expectations. Some perceive the ability to protect one's privacy as important. Others do not. Some perceive the ability to buy a house as essential, others not. Some cherish being competitive, productive, or efficient, others not. Some find the ability to consume essential, some the ability to live in a harmonious, equitable society. Ableism, as I understand it, does not have to be negative. It simply indicates that one has certain ability expectations, one lives out. A society could decide that equity is an important ability of a functioning society, and this could be perceived as positive. And in this way, I think I like that the positive part, because we can put forward a more positive agenda instead of just saying what goes wrong. However, ability expectation can and have been used in a negative way, not only against disabled people, but also used to support negative isms such as racism, sexism, and anti-environmentalism. Ableism used in a negative way leads to disableism, the lack of accommodation for the needs of people and other biological structures seen to lack certain abilities, and the unwillingness to adapt to the needs of others. Ability expectation and ableism in the end leads to an ability-based and ability-justified understanding of oneself, one's body, and one's relationship with others, of one's species, other species, and one's environment. Now let me go to the eco-ableism, which is the title of my presentation. While various academic disciplines have addressed ecological issues, the academic discipline ability studies, the study of generation and impact of ability expectation and ableism, has not really investigated the ecological dimensions of ability expectation and ableism, nor are these employed as explicit lenses and frameworks within ecological research. Right? Ecology is about the interrelationship of organisms and the environment. And ability expectation, preferences, and dynamics that lead to certain values and certain preferences and certain abilities, which then define the interrelationship between human-animals and human nature, and how one defines ecological problems and identifies solutions to the problem. To illustrate my point, I will look at two schools of thought, anthropocentric versus bio/ecocentric, which have different ability expectations, and they both define how humans relate to nature, and in the end also animals. The anthropocentric school is human-centered in interpretation of the relationship between humans and nature and human and animal, and looks at nature and humans to be a tool for fulfilling human wishes. This view could be labeled as disabling for nature and animals. It only cares about nature and animals insofar as a decrease, for example, in regards to nature, as a decrease in environmental health negatively impacts humans. It also is limited as to what extent it cares about animals. If one looks at human-nature relationship from a group perspective, one could say it exhibits anthropocentric privilege. In ability privilege terms, In an anthropocentric view of human nature and human-animal relationship, humans are unwilling to give up the ability privilege of using nature or animals for a certain